What's happening, boys? We all good?
Happy Monday.
Right.
These are the Mondays that we live for, innit?
Yep,
So,
nothing I'd rather be doing.
who says Mondays are the worst day of the week?
No. Well, to be fair, we had our fair share of podcasts last year complaining that it was boring, talking about how good Hearts were. So we've came full circle. We're back to another Tears and Snotters every other week, so that'll be class. With our usual way to make sure that everybody can hear us on YouTube, and then we'll start the party.
I'm not getting any warnings for YouTube, so if Declan Doyle, Chappie 1874, I can see you there. Somebody just give us a thumbs up that you can actually hear us in all our glory. That'd be appreciated. How long have we been doing this now? 2.5 years or something? I think we'd have worked it out by now. Really,
No, that's what's wrong, is that we've worked it out. I know not to go guns blazing and then get told 5 minutes into it. Can't hear you.
We're all good. Forry's not bothered, says loud and clear. I'm glad
Right.
Forry's here.
Well, like I said, another group therapy session. Actually, I'm not actually that bothered about the result on Saturday, if I'm being totally honest with you. Like I said, the group chat or whatever it was, that results against Celtic Rangers want to make or break your season. But we might as well dive into it. 5 games into the season, no wins, 1 point, rock bottom of the league, scored 2 goals. I think some Hibs knob tweeted saying Donald Trump's been assassinated twice since the last time we won a game. That made me laugh. It's a very valid point. So we might as well get torn into it. Kev, what's been happening?
Not a great deal, mate. Tried my hardest not to watch the game on Saturday. So much so, I went out and cut the grass and went out and washed the car. Went and did the food shopping. Still had time to actually come in and fucking watch it. So, nothing changes. Still miserable. Still old. What else do you expect?
Decent. Ando, what about yourself?
Absolutely nothing. Copy and paste my thoughts and moans for the last 7 or 8 of these I think we've done now. So if you like living life on repeat, welcome.
Truman Show.
Exactly.
The Truman Show. Not even investment chat or planning European away days has got me out of my anger. I've been in a constant state of anger for the past 6 weeks.
I thought you were going to say 39 years of your life.
Well, I'm always angry that this is getting to the point. I'm actually, to be honest with you, we'll get proper chat about it as we go on, but it's exhausting. I'm exhausted about. You look through the last 10 years, 11 years, it's this cycle every single time, but it blows my mind that we're still making the same mistakes or the same nonsense on repeat, and it's very upsetting. So anyway, thanks to everybody that joined us on YouTube. Appreciate it. Get your questions in. I've got some questions to ask you as we go, so give your answers. We'll talk, obviously, the game on Saturday, if there's anything to discuss. But most of it's pretty cut and dry, if I'm being honest with you, including the penalty decisions, but that might be controversial, so we can have a chat about that. And then we'll really just look at where we go now. I think the next run of games really will tell us significantly where we are going to be come the season. I think I put in the group chat the day that we only lost 10 games last season. We lost 10 games, lost 10, drew 8. So we're already lost 4. So we've got to go through now to the end of the season and only lose 6 matches to get close to being where we were last year. We won 20 games last season. We won any. Aberdeen are already won 5. So they're a quarter of the way matching what we did last season, and there's only 5 games into the season. It's pretty grim stuff. We need to discuss where does that leave us if we're nazy in, nazy out. does that solve anything, given that, again, we're back in that Truman Show, as Ando spoke about, where we end up back to square one with Hearts. And then in the day, there's some background to where it is that everybody in their dug is kind of knew that Tony Bloom has been in the background. Brighton have been in the background since the summer. They did an external review of the business, and we've kind of Jerry hinted it in the Foundation of Hearts interview that we did. He asked me to ask him about external investment so that he could give the party line of how the club would approach it. I think everybody's been expecting it, and it's no surprise that it's been leaked or released today to the press that there is £10 million hanging there or thereabouts in the background. So we'll talk about that and anything else. Who tell me something you want in the sightlines? We'll go after them all. The groundsman, the stadium manager, the woman that works in the cafe. Give a name, we'll absolutely slaughter them. It'll make us all feel better, and we'll try and put a smile on our faces on the Monday. Sound good?
Excellent. Love it.
Sounds perfect.
Will we talk about Saturday first?
Well, I'd like to hear more about Kev cutting his grass. If I'm honest, let's go for it. Why not?
So I took it down to the bare bones because I thought this would be the last cut of the season. It's however, we found out today it's soon to be lifted. I'm going to try and put some undersoil heating in for next season. Other than that, not really much else to talk about on that front.
I thought you were talking about Manscaped. I thought you were manscaping when you said that you were you're cutting the grass, but
no, we've moved on from that, mate. We've moved on from that, so we'll no bother talking about Manscaped any longer.
You're at an age now we could just blow your hair off, surely. Surely a strong brush just takes it off, no?
Mate, if you're my age and you've still got as good a head of hair as you have at the moment, then we realise that you maybe know your father's son.
I know. Well, I don't even know if that's even disputed, to be honest. It's like a different species of man compared to me, so.
Good evening, Bill.
Aye, what did we make? 3 changes to the starting 11 on Saturday. Obviously, we went to Celtic Park, a venue where we won last year. Beat Celtic twice last season, actually, which was fairly good going for us. Don't know. It was a better, if you're going to talk performances, it was slightly better. But again, if I want to be that guy about it, it's no surprise that it was a slightly better performance because we didn't have the ball. It's if you look at copy and paste it versus Dundee United the previous week, or sorry, if you compare and contrast, Dundee United the previous week where they were happy for us to have the ball because they know we can't do anything away it. Kind of makes sense that we're actually a wee bit more comfortable. We're letting Celtic have all the possession, stay compact, stay tight, and hopefully try and nick something on the break or a counter or whatever it may be, which is the exact opposite of what we can't do when we're at home. So, any thoughts on the game, anything stick out, anything that you wanted to talk about or enjoyed about Saturday?
I think I was going to say, I think from my point of view, what I did like about Saturday's start was the fact of the way we actually set up. We set up with what is probably our best formation, with a back four where we can drop, Benny or Boateng into that, make that like a back six really at times. I thought from that point of view, that definitely works better for us, that sort of element. Away from home. I think away from home. We do. I think it suits us more.
I mean about playing a 4. Did we play a 4 though, Kev?
No, because most of the times it was more a 5 and 6. In all honesty, but what I'm getting at is more the fact that is, that to me is a better formation than trying to play 3 at the back. I mean, we could never have played 3 at the back at Celtic Park anyway. I mean, that would have been suicide. But I just generally think that having that sort of Boateng and Benny, I thought they actually, for really their first time playing together, actually looked all right. But again, like we've always said, there's nothing, there's no creativity, there's nothing going forward when there's players on the bench that are there to do that kind of thing.
Well,
I think you picked that up or mentioned that on your interview and bit with Sportsround on Saturday night.
see, I seen it as three at the back, Penrice and Taylor as wing backs with Benny and Boateng sitting, so almost a back seven. We asking Grant, Vargas, and Shanklin to go and try and say something. is the way I seen it. But Ando, any thoughts? Shape, team.
If I'm honest, no, not really. I only really bothered looking at the team sheet halfway through the game, at half time. I had 1 year on it really, and that was it. I was fully braced for a 4 or 5-0 scudding. So by the time we got to half time and the score was what it was, then it just further just sort of kept me more disinterested, if I'm honest. So you're not going to get any magical scrutiny out of me, because one of those ones I just tried hard to avoid.
Well, we might as well come to the elephant in the room then, Kevin.
Thanks.
Our penalty.
I think there's a lot of people will say that if one's a penalty, so's the other, and vice versa. I'm more in the camp that neither is. We spoke about it after the Rangers game. Why was it's a carbon copy with Barron. He stops the cross with his hand, exactly the same as Penrice did on Saturday. So if it wasn't a penalty at Tynecastle back on the first game of the new season, then why was it a penalty on Saturday at Parkhead? And it comes back to consistency as far as I'm concerned. And if I'm being honest, I don't think either of them are penalties on that particular basis. But I know perfectly well it's a contentious decision. It's a contentious thought process, and no doubt others will have a different view of it.
Ando, what's your view?
So it's a difficult one. I'll be honest. There's been that much to and fro over the handball rule or law, whatever you're supposed to say, that I don't know. I kind of find myself in a difficulty with these ones, because if you look at the Barron one, that one, if memory serves, the ball struck from further away. So the ball travels further before it hits Barron's arm. Whereas this one was a lot closer to Penrice than the Barron one. So I think the referees get told at the start of the season, don't they? It's like, this is the flavour of the month, or the topic of the season, or whatever it is. These are the things you have to zone in on. I know that happens in England, but if there's been some sort of change to the handball rule as it's written down, then I suppose no, it's not a penalty.
The weird thing for me is, again, to go back to VAR, is that, so they're either all penalties or they're no penalties. So the Barron one and the ones on Saturdays, they're all penalties, or none of them are penalties. But what things me is that the VAR's only supposed to interject when there's a clear and obvious error, and I don't know if any of them were clear and obvious. If you interject on one, you have to be consistent, is what Kev says, and I just didn't see how it's consistent on Saturday. Like I said, if I think you set the tone by, all right, fine, ref gives the on-field decision as a penalty to us, VAR calls him over to say, here, we think you've got that wrong, then I don't see why then VAR jump in to say, here, by the way, I think you've missed this handball. And it's just no consistent for me. That's what bugs me. Did that have a huge monumental bearing on the game? I don't know. I don't know if it does or not, but I just think that there's just no consistency. We said, I know people can say tinfoil hat all you want. We said, watched Sports Sound and Sports Scene, and all the Sky highlights and all that stuff about everybody praising the referee for getting the Conor Barron one right. And we all said, okay, let's wait and see when it's shoes on the other feet, when it's the Old Firm. Let's see what happens at Celtic Park or Ibrox. And the first instant, and I'll confess I've not watched any Celtic or Rangers games other than when they've played Hearts. The very first contentious handball decisions that could go against them or for them, and lo and behold, both decisions fall in the favour of the Old Firm. And again, I don't know if you would even get any odds if you went to the bookies and said that that would be the case for how it was. I think that's annoying. That's the annoying thing about it. But who even knows what handball rule is now?
I think I know, and see the thing is, it's not us. Like, see, the tinfoil hat mentality would work if it was just against Hearts, right? But it's not. It's just it's everybody suffers for this. Like, it's not just us. Like Hibs, Aberdeen, Kilmarnock, whoever you name it, they get that massive drag factor. And can you say it's bias? I don't know if you can say it's bias. It's not. I think it's just pressure. It's a pressure to make sure that the Scottish product delivers moments of contention in big games, right? And usually they are always going to go for the Old Firm because it's more of a spectacle. Now, I don't think they're told specifically, you have to go out and give Celtic a penalty. It's just, I don't know. It feels like it's just woven into the fabric of the game. It has been for so long. Big teams get big decisions. We see it ourselves if we're fighting Ross County or whatever, things go our way that probably have no business going our way. It's the big team bias.
It's also clever for Celtic and Rangers. You know, they put nothing but pressure on the referees to get those decisions, if you know what I mean. Like, you've got the pressure of the crowd that will sway it, but they have such an impact on those people's lives, personal lives, social lives, everything. And they put that pressure on them all the time about, you know, we didn't get decisions, we don't get it right, you know, the woe is me stuff that, oh, the world's against us, blah, 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 blah. And then, you know, every 50-50, every contentious decision, it's not just whether you get it right or wrong, it's can you afford to get it wrong? Because if we get it wrong on Saturday and we cost Celtic 3 points, or the ref gets it wrong on Sunday and gets cost Rangers 3 points, they're on every phone in, they're on the back page of every paper, and they will be for the whole week. You know, Clyde Super Scoreboard every night will be hammer the ref that got it wrong, hammer the ref that got it wrong, speak to Bobby Madden, speak to an ex-ref, how did they get it wrong, how can he afford to get it wrong. Then it'll be what does Willie Collum do? Has he been demoted? Has he been sent to the championship? Like, you learn a very tough lesson by getting mistakes wrong at Celtic Park or Ibrox. So there we go. The goalkeeper for the second, are we allowed to say that was horrendous? I feel like
100%.
Xander Clark would get absolutely battered for something like that. Has Craig Gordon kept a clean sheet this season for Hearts?
Nope.
No.
Nope. The only clean sheet we've kept is against Rangers in the opening day, and that was Clark was in goals, wasn't he?
God, it's a joke.
We're not going to go over the Gordon stuff. We've made our stance pretty clear on it. I don't think he should be the number one, not because of anything, because we hate him or think he's shite or any of that stuff. We've said it before. There's no future in Craig Gordon. He's 42 years old in 2 months' time, or whatever it is. It's absolutely crazy. It's that he's crazy. And again, I don't want my memories of Craig Gordon to be watching him make mistake after mistake after mistake. Yeah, he throw in a worldie save every now and again, but when you're getting beat, no one really remembers the worldie saves. You remember that a guy's had a powder puff shot for the edge of the box that realistically the keeper should save. He has standard anyway as well. It's not even like it's a brilliant shot that's bottom corner and it's hard to get there. It's within his reach. He should have saved it. It was pretty rubbish.
I'd go as far to say that Clark will save it.
Well, that's the patter for whenever Clark does something wrong in it, you'd get the Gordon would have saved that type stuff. Was there any positives? I thought Taylor looked a little bit better than he's done for a while.
I think the positive from my point, as I said earlier on, I think Benny and Boateng could look like a half decent pairing together. My only concern is that you've then got to keep Grant, Danda, Spittle, those kind of guys in front of them who are creative football players. The balance, you've got to try and find the balance. But we've said it week in, week out, Truman Show again. We still don't know what the best 11 is.
It's the thing that bugs me, Kev, is that we've went in to set up against Pilsen and Celtic to be hard not to beat, to keep compact, to get bodies behind the ball, and we've lost every one of them. It's like, what we doing? Like, you've got Kingsley, Halkett, Rowles, Taylor, Penrice, Benny, Boateng. Every one of them a defensive-minded player. Every single one. Sure, I mean, like, Penrice has been good. Penrice has been the bright spark of the season for me so far. He's been the one that I've been most impressed with. He's athletic and he likes to get forward, and he's got a bit about him. But the names I've just mentioned there, all of them they're not going to score goals. They don't create goals. Do you know what I mean? Their job is to stop goals going in. And between Gordon and the names that I've just mentioned, we haven't kept a clean sheet all season, including playing Dross in the Championship that knock us out the League Cup. So what's the point? What's the point? Like, go get beat at Celtic and go have a go. What's the point in having Danda and Spittle and Oda and Vargas and Shankland and all these forward-thinking players, and then basic folk go, oh, Shankland looks uninterested or like he doesn't care. I no fucking
This is
wonder.
bored.
He's playing up front by himself. He's
Nothing to do.
literally turns around and looks and goes, brilliant. I've got Benny, Boateng that are great at winning the ball. Can he beat a player? Got no pace. Can he shoot? Can he cross? Brilliant. Right, who they getting the ball? Who they getting the ball to? Me. Brilliant. They're going to punt the ball to me, and I've got two Liam Scales and Carter Vickers up my arse. Nowhere to go.
Both big units.
Brilliant. Like, aye, pretty poor. It's pretty poor stuff. What do we change? We've obviously we're away to St Mirren. We're away to St Mirren on Saturday. If you're in charge, what we changing? How do we change the narrative of the season?
I genuinely don't know. Right, whatever he does is going to be wrong. Right, I think we're just in this rut now, and I suppose momentum's a big thing in football. We have absolutely none of it now, right? And we're going to have to absolutely fight tooth and nail to get a victory, even try and build a wee bit of momentum and try and save the season. I just don't know that it comes on Saturday. I think you could play this game 4 times with 4 different lineups from the start and get beaten every single one of them. I don't know. I genuinely don't think there's. You just have to hope that the players have got the attitude. I don't think changing anything is going to overcome St Mirren. Doesn't matter. What I'm trying to say is, I don't think there's a magic formula. The players need to get out of this, and I don't think it matters how Naismith sets them up.
Kev, hindsight is a wonderful thing. They obviously brought this game forward. We play at the weekend because we made an absolute cunt of it and get beat at Falkirk. And now we're not in the League Cup. So they brought this game forward. Now I can't help but think we could have had 2 weeks, almost like a mini pre-season, to prepare and reset and go again, Ross County. Now we've brought ourselves an away trip to a venue where we struggle. Let's be honest, we struggle away from home most of the times, but we're now playing against a side that, yeah, it's not unrealistic to think that St Mirren could turn us over on Saturday if the mindset's not right, the game's not right. They would have preferred the 2-week break, no, getting prepared for Ross County.
I guess you could look at it in 2 different ways. Yes, as you say, hit the reset button. You've got a period of 2 weeks to, pull together, work on whatever it may be that wasn't worked on to the right levels during pre-season, because that's what our first 5 games is currently showing us that pre-season was not at the level where it should have been. And we've spoken about that, so we're not going to go over that again. Arsenal
I will.
Mirren,
I'll gloat. I'll gloat. I'll gloat. I told you that. And the amount of people in the community chat that I think folk have left in a huff in protest because they can't handle that I was right.
well, it's you can look at it as I say in those two ways. You could also look at it that actually are St Mirren having a great season so far. Can't really say that of anything's really stood out results wise.
Well done. Well
I
done,
know.
Kev.
I've just
You're
done a tab.
replacing Tam. You're replacing Tam with his
No, but
messages. I cool.
you could look at it that way, and you can also look at it the way that actually it's a better game to go into, rather than actually having a break. Go in, win that game. Does that turn your season around? Is this? I mean, let's be honest. Dundee have played really well, so that was never going to be an easy game away from home. Is this a more achievable option or game that's going to actually give you a better idea as to where we actually are in terms of things, because they're not great. You come away on Saturday night winning 2-1, as you rightly say, in hindsight, you go, brilliant, it was the right idea to move that game. Because this is a game after playing Celtic where your performance hasn't been that bad or has not been as bad as other games, i.e. the Dundee United game. Actually, you win that one, that does change your season. Who knows?
I know. That's not happening, Kev.
No.
It's not happening. Like, we've been down this road 1,000 times with Hearts. That's not happening.
9:50 Monday night, just in case I need to roll back.
Clip it. Hearts will not win on Saturday. I'll tell you now. It's not happening. What needed to change was, like I said, if we're looking at the game and saying, right, even if they win, what are they going to change? Do you know what I mean? They'll probably roll into St Mirren, make changes to the starting 11, probably play a different formation to the formation that we played on Saturday, and we might nick a result. We might. We won't, but we might. It's in the realms of possibility. Our manager is now waffling at a rate of knots, like the knob that was in the dugout before him, talking himself in knots, talking in riddles, saying one thing, then another, then contradicting what he just said, blaming the players, blaming everybody, taking absolutely no responsibility for the shit show that he is putting on the park week in, week out. He's now sniping as well back at the press, saying that, the press and the pundits are talking about Danda and Spittle. I was like, well, no one said that Danda and Spittle had never played in any other positions other than playing in the 10, you baldy football terrorist. No one said that. What they're saying was that Danda and Spittle played brilliant last season playing in that position, and you have decided not to play them there. I think it speaks wonders about Saturday. We signed 8 players in the transfer window, I think. 9 if you include the third choice goalkeeper guy who we signed for Hamilton or whatever. I think we signed 8 players in the transfer window.
Bit about that.
So 3 of them started the game on Saturday. Is that right? Or was it 2 of them?
3.
So Penrice, Taylor,
Boateng.
So 3 of them. And I've made my point about Boateng as well. Boateng's been the best probably out of the lot of them, and he wasn't on the radar. That fell across their desk and they decided to take a punt on it, and he's been the best player that we have. But your marquee signings, the ones that we were most excited about, ones that we wanted to write home about, are sitting on the bench. Danda clearly can't get a game. Whatever it is, he's either terrible in training, or he's just not good enough, or he's just not the player that we thought he was. He can't even get in the starting 11. Blair Spittle's been brought in and asked to play as a 6, whilst we make Cammy Devlin play as a 10 or an 8 or a running 8, even though they're the opposite from each other. Make Cammy sit and win the ball back. He's always good at. Get Spittle up to create and get further forward at the park. we're doing Nottingham. And then on Saturday, to make it even better, Musa's come in for being absolutely nowhere to suddenly scored a couple of goals at five-a-sides with his mates, and he's now making the bench, and we're chucking him on with 10, 15 minutes to go at Celtic Park, hoping that he can save the season. I think that's writing on the wall stuff for me, Ando. What about
Yep,
yourself?
totally agree. And I think and just to take everybody back, if you haven't listened to Corbett's interview, which was on BBC Scotland on Saturday afternoon, I'd encourage you to go back and listen to it because it absolutely hits the nail on the head. But something else that was important there, just to go back to what you were saying a minute ago, is that like Tom English, I agree with him sometimes and not on others, and same as all the pundits comparing and contrasting different viewpoints or whatever. But he seems to be quite staunchly against Stevie Naismith, and I quite love it because it's all the same stuff that you've been talking about, which is right. You're talking about players that you brought into the game. Brought into Hearts, and they're maybe not quite up to speed with what is expected at Hearts. But in English, Tom English made a really good point. He says, well, why don't you come out and tell us exactly what is expected? What is the system you're trying to play? What are the instructions that you're giving them? And why are they not making that grade? Right? But instead, absolutely what you just said, he's talking himself into knots. And it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And it is, to answer your question, definitely writing on the wall stuff. It is a matter of when, not if.
Yeah. So the question, I suppose the bigger question, and that being interesting to see what the people on YouTube's thoughts are or whatever, is that when is it? Like, when is Saturday the last game for Stephen Naismith? Did they pull the plug? Should they have been sacked already? Are we at that stage? Does he still have credit in the bank? Where where does it go to until a decision's made? We're now, or have we lost 6 games in the bounce?
7, is it
Um,
not?
is it 7? I don't know. I
No,
can't remember.
I'm sure
I'm
it's
trying
7.
my best. If we're including Europe,
Aye, I'm sure it's
right.
7. It's the record equivalent for ages or something like that. I can't remember. There was something about it on the radio. Sure, it's 7.
So we're in the run. We're in the same run that cost Robbie Nielsen his job. I think we've got one win in 14. Last time we won was Dundee at home in the top 6 split. If we're not win a game, and not win a game since then. Like, where are you at, Kev? Where are you at now?
So I'm of a certain age where I remember going through managers at the early 90s, like, you would go through hot dinners kind of idea. We had a number of managers, one after the other. And it was never great. I feel that we're now getting back into that kind of position again, having a manager for a couple of seasons or 18 months, and we continuously change it. And I was, for a while, I was, no, we can't go down that road again. However, I'm now in the position of, we have not won a game, or we've one game since we lost 2-0 at Hampden, in the semi-final of the Scottish Cup. To win one game in that period, 14 games or something like that, without a win. For people to turn around and say, especially within the club anyway, to say that he's got that little bit in the bank, that to me is, you're not wanting to, you push forward. If we get beat on Saturday, he better not be in a job on Sunday. That's how strongly I feel about it now. I've now got to that point that we need to change, because, again, going back to what we've already said, he's going around in circles, he's tiny selling knots in regards to comments. We've all said it. The actual players that are in the team at the moment, or within what is, as you've already said it again on Saturday, it's an overpopulated squad. No need to have that many players. And trying to
Where are
actually
you?
play, we've got a good enough team on paper to be third, fourth. So it definitely says to me it's someone within the coaching and managerial setup. Has to be.
Ando, what's your thoughts?
Oh, for me, it's get a canvas bag out of his head and put him at his midday. Right, get the firing squad out, because if I look at, like, look at the fixtures that are coming up. And sorry if you're going to cover this, but I don't see where the points are coming from in order to save the season, right? So you've got St Mirren away. That's gone. We're at home to Ross County. Ross County, who the other day just beat Dundee, who have been scoring it well all season long so far. Put them away 2-0. Easy, right? Then you're away to Minsk, away to Aberdeen, home to St Mirren, and then away to the Cypriot team, and then away to Hibs, right? I'll be honest, I look at all of those games and think, are we getting a point out of any of them? The way we're playing just now, and the realistic answer is no. And if we get to the 27th of October, and that everything I've said just comes true, and there's still no any points, and we've still got that idiot in charge, then that is proper desperate scenario.
I think did we beat Ross County at all last season? I don't think we beat them at Tynecastle, did we not?
Good question. Let me check.
I think we did.
We drew to each of them at Tynecastle and got beat in Dingwall, did we not? We beat them 1-0. Did Alan Forrest score a header or something like that? Or something crazy like that in the third kit the first time we went to Dingwall? I think we beat them 1-0. Forrest scored, sure he did.
The last time we beat them was the 30th of September 2023, and it was a 1-0 away victory. And the game since then we've drawn against them 2-2, and they beat us 2-1 up there. Yeah, I was in December and March. So,
and again, everybody was looking to the Dundee United home game, and we lost that. It's grim when you look at the fixtures, like you just said there. Right, we get one home game in there until the next international break. I think it is. We're away to St Mirren, home to Ross County, away in Europe.
Yeah,
I think it's Azerbaijan or something we're going in it. And then
Minsk. Yeah.
And
well, I know we're not playing it in Minsk, wherever it is meant to be.
And then it's up to Pataudry, and then it's the international break, I think, is what it is.
You're right.
So realistically, outside of Europe, he has to win all three of those games.
That's not happening.
All three of those games. And what is absolutely bananas is even if he does win all three of those games, realistically, he's only going to claw back 3 points on Aberdeen. So we'll only be 11 points behind them. That's absolutely bananas. So here's the bigger, why I was asking the questions, right, is to the bigger thing, and I genuinely would like folks' opinions on it. Who sacks him? Because it's the same people that sack him are the same people that looked in the corridor and gave him the job. It's the same people that on repeat end up back here every single time. I was going to ask you, right? Let's go through it quickly. What's the club's worst result in Europe?
Yeah, I'd probably say that.
So Barcacara.
The only one I can think of.
Right. Okay, so Barcacara, right?
Well, actually, no. Hold on. Wait a minute. In terms of stature, yeah, it will be Barcacara.
In terms of we're talking about a Maltese fishermen's union's football team, not does it? Right. What's the worst result in the cup?
Brora.
Yeah, Brora. But when you say what's the worst result we've had in the league? When you look at Queen of the South beat us at Tynecastle for the first time in their history. It's pretty much it's going to be up there. You look at the worst start to a season. It's probably I think we've equalled all these type of records. They all happen under the same tenure, the same football board. This is their MO. This is what they do. They let it stagnate. They let it go past the point. And that's what bugs me about Saturday, right? Is that they'll all have come off and would have said, well, I thought we would have got beat by more, or we should have had a penalty and we didn't. Or even worse, which and I actually genuinely think they probably look at it, is, well, we won here last year. Like that, and that's what bugs me, is we're at a point where everything changes, but nothing changes. We end up back exactly where we are. This was Robbie Nielsen got the job, did well, won the championship. Then performances started to change, but results didn't dry up. Then the results dried up. Then we went for Cathro, and it was right. We're going to fix it. Jam tomorrow. It's a work in progress. Players aren't settling. Give them time. It'll get better. And then we gave them a transfer window, and then made a total cunt at it, getting knocked out of the League Cup again by a team in the division below us. Then it was bring Levine in, and then it was give everybody time. The players need to adapt. It's a big club. There's loads of pressure. The players have came from smaller clubs. They need to get used to it. Blah 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 blah. Everything is rinse and repeat till here. It's the same. So it's the same. We're at the same situation we were in with Robbie Nielsen as what we're in with Stephen Naismith, which is no identity, no style. We don't know week on week what we're doing. It's young managers cutting their cloth that are playing real life champ man, watching the big boys on match of the day on a Saturday and going, oh, that looks quite good, I'll play that formation. Or they're got to do their pro licenses, seeing all the PowerPoint presentations and coming back and going, brilliant, that's what I want to do. I want to take Cammy Devlin, who's a dog and duck player at best, but is good at winning the ball and runs about, is tenacious, has got hunters and hunters of heart. Brilliant. I'm going to stop him doing what the only thing he's good at doing, which is exactly that, and I'm going to ask him to play further forward and try and score goals. Why? Well, I don't know. Just because that will make me look like a great coach. I've taken this young lad, as the club said when they signed his contract, oh, the inspirational story, because Cammy Devlin's the first person ever to get in a plane for Australia and come somewhere else and get a job. Oh my God, someone write a fucking book because somebody travelled to the other end of the world and got a job. How inspirational is that?
Phone Spielberg right now, get a movie
exactly,
made.
mate. Tell me about it. That's going to be a blockbuster. That inspirational story, a young football player travelling to a different country and playing mediocre football. Fuck me.
And we've
Then
just
I'll
sent one
get
of
the
them
Premier
back.
in the Sky Lounge and get it on the hotels playing. Folk will love it. But that's the stuff he takes. That's his player. They've signed Spittle and Dandel. Spittle and Dandel? Don't know who they are. We signed them
Talking
anyway.
about Jan
Signed them
Dildo, that
anyway.
was how it got killed.
But we walked them.
I got that wrong, sorry. Jill Dando, not Jan Dildo. Apologies. Right.
Woof, we're having a great time. We're having an unbelievable time.
We're going to have to
But
cut that one. Right.
you watch them, sign them, and then go, no, we're going to play somewhere else because I'm really smart and I've got my pro license, or I'm doing my pro license, and I'm good at doing a PowerPoint presentation. So I'm not going to do what we're supposed to do, and here's what you get. And that's so we could sack Stephen Naismith now. Who comes in? Genuinely, I know we laugh and joke about it. I know I said on Sportsound the other day, the MO, the default position, the only time we've strayed away from this was when we brought Stendhal in, and you're invited onto the podcast to argue that you don't agree that the idea there was to bring Stendhal in, who we didn't let him bring any of his own backroom staff. He came himself. We didn't give him an assistant, any coaches. We brought him in and said, here's John Daly, here's Liam Fox, here's Austin McPhee, or whoever was in the background. They're your coaches, work with them. Craig Levein is sacked as the manager, but he's still the football director. He's on gardening leave. He's in the background. Nobody will tell me that the plan wasn't for Stendhal to come in, steady the ship, get us out of the bottom 2, 3, 4, whatever it be, even if we finish mediocre in the table, as long as we don't go down, and in the summer rebuild that relationship with Levein. Levein stays as a football director and helps Stendhal settle in to that role, because that's the MO of this football board. It's the shit that Craig Levein brought to the table in 2014. 10 years later, we are still doing the same shit that Specky Knob brought to the table 10 years ago. So sack Naismith today, fine. Tomorrow, Liam Fox and Andy Webster are in interim charge. They get a draw at St Mirren and a home win against Ross County. Welcome to the inspirational world of Hearts, your new management team of Andy Webster and Liam Fox. Because that's what they'll do. That's what they'll do.
I can't disagree with that.
We've
So
been
what do we
saying
do?
this for well, this is what we do what we said we should have done when this came round the last time, which is spend a bit of money and get a manager that isn't tin pot and dog and duck, or whatever that phrase was that you used a minute ago that I quite liked, and get somebody in that isn't going to accept shit, to throw petrol on it, burn it all down behind the scenes, and remake it in his own image. We won't be given any. Okay, number one, we won't spend the money when we can internally appoint for sentimentality reasons, which you've covered before. And incidentally, when you said that on Saturday, I loved how all the pundits thought that you were absolutely nuts for even suggesting that. But the truth is, I think everybody listening to this will know that is the distinctly real possibility and the most likely outcome. But we won't do what is necessary because I don't know why. I don't know why they're not willing to make that leap. It's probably about relinquishing control.
It's
Or,
it's
or
because
not run by football people.
aye, that well, not I get that and I understand that, and then when I'm my angriest, I would say that as well. But it's just not the priority. It's not the priority. It's not the priority. The football business is the priority, and that's their expertise. It's like anybody. You will always go and bat for what you know is your strength. You'll always do that. People don't go and do things that they aren't good at doing. They'll always play to their strengths, and that's what the board's thing is. The board's MO was when it came in, it was to rebuild the club financially. It was to rebuild the club's reputation in the business community, and it was to rebuild the club's reputation in the community. They've done all of that. They've done all of that. There, no one can argue with that, right? Like, we can't sit here and argue with that. The commercial revenues, whether you think it's right, wrong, or indifferent, are a million times better than they've ever been before. They've fixed all of that stuff. What we don't have, and what we talk about all the time, is I can bet you right now the board has probably said, as long as you don't finish any lower than fourth, then that's a good season. Whereas all of us as fans are saying, actually, we want to stranglehold third. And I say this 1,000 times over and over and over again. When you start to lower the bar, that is when everything drops. You cannot lower the bar to fit your narrative because then nobody performs to where they need to be. I said it after Robbie Nielsen lost the Scottish Cup final to Rangers. He got everything that he wanted. He got them defeat, heartache in the Europa League final on the Wednesday, extra time and penalties drained them. He got everything that he wanted on the Saturday, and we went 120 minutes and didn't have a shot on target. A football board would have brought him in and said, I'm really sorry. You've had a brilliant season to get here, but that was unacceptable in all ways, shape, or form. You've got 90 minutes. It's the last 90 minutes of the season. What the hell was that? Do you know what I mean? You had 10 extra days to prepare for that game versus Rangers. You looked flat. You looked unorganised. You didn't have a game plan. You couldn't get a shot on target. I'm sorry. But looking at the objectives for the season, you were out early doors of the League Cup. You've cantered to third without any real noticeable victories other than the semi-final versus Hibs, where by the end of that match, actually, we were holding on for dear life to get that over the line. You've got to the cup final, and the mentality is we're just happy to be there. That was what we were. We were happy to be there. We had all the sentimentality stuff done, the tifo for Zal in the background. You had Steve Morris walking the team out, which was a beautiful moment and all that stuff. But that was it. That was mission complete. But isn't it about go win that trophy, because that's no Rangers as we know them. That's a different Rangers, and we still didn't win it. And we're like that everywhere we go. Who we talked about it last week with the signings, who sits on the board, signs the checks, and then watches that team. They watch. I brought 8 players to the club in the summer. We did so many deals, so many scouting, so many X, Y, and Z. 3 of them are playing. The rest of them are sitting in the stand or on the bench. We're still watching guys like Craig Gordon, Halkett, Boyce, Barry Mackay, all these guys are still here and still relied on and needed to play. What are we doing? What are we doing? What was the point in having all these late night meetings, looking over scouting reports, building transfer window plans for us to go into these games playing the same players we played last season, when the whole point, what we wrote on the board at the start of the season objectives, was to be better than we were last year. And so again, I go back to we can get rid of Stephen Naismith, fine. Why I'm exhausted about all this is that this goes in waves and cycles. We've been here before. This is where we're at every 2 years, every 18 months to 24 months, we end up back here, which is nobody saying, yeah, you might have beat Ross County, but 1-0 at home, where a terrible performance, where we're not sure what the formation is, changing the side week in, week out, players that have been signed sitting on the bench, players that shouldn't be playing, players out of position. I'm not happy with what I'm watching. This is my football club. European money, we need it. Stature of the club needs to improve. We want trophies, we want all of that. Either there's people on the board that do that and do nothing about it, or the board just gaslight us because they want our money and say what they think we want us to, they're meant to say, and they've got no ambition whatsoever to actually get the club to that level, because that's where I'm at. Sick of it. I'm exhausted by it all.
That's what it feels like. Lack of ambition. Just a genuine lack of ambition. And again, it goes. You've already said it, so I don't want to go over it again. It's the dropping of that bar. You know, I know this is not the right analogy for it, but a guy who competes in the high jump sets his high jump at 167. What's his next aim? Wants to get at 170. What's our aim? Oh, we'll go back to 165.
Kev,
yeah, I know that's not the right way to go.
I'll give you the even better example, right? SeaWorld. This is how it happens. How the fuck the SeaWorld get a 4-ton orca to jump out of the water in what is essentially a paddling pool to them? Do you know how they do it? I'll tell you how they do it, right? They put a rope on the bottom of the pool. On the bottom. And every single time the orca swims over one side, gets a wee fish. Whenever it swims over the other side, it gets nothing. Until it's trained to know that if I go over this rope, I get a fish. Cool. Then you raise the bar, you raise the rope, you raise the rope, you raise the rope until the rope is out of the water. You get a fucking 4-ton orca jumping out of the water because it wants a fish. That's what happens. When it doesn't jump out of the water, it doesn't get a fish. They didn't say lower the bar. Let's reward them with a fish anyway, because you know that's folk will laugh at that, right? I get it, but that is genuinely what we do as a club. Everything. There is always, always, always something ready-made on the shelf that's ready to be pulled down and go, there you go. Yes, you lost to Broder Rangers in the Cup, but 6 years ago you were in administration, so there you go. Cool. Yes, you've been beat off Celtic, or you're 15 points behind Aberdeen, or whatever it may be, but you've got group stage football this season. Last season we didn't, or there's ready-made excuses everywhere you go. And that, again, always goes back to the same thing. Football clubs, football, the business of football on the park is ruthless. It has to be ruthless. That's how you succeed. When you make it a bowling club like Davy Martindale and Livingston. Because I was going to say, if we go through our rivals, right, if folk are still pro Stephen A. Smith and don't think he should be sacked, let's look at it this way, right? 5 games into the season, let's start at the top of the league. Brendan Rodgers is, after 5 games in the league, is 14 points behind Rangers. Is Brendan Rodgers still in a job? Yes or no?
No.
No. Anybody on YouTube, feel free to say yes or no, whether you agree with it, right? David Gray at Hibs. 5 games into the season, sits 14 points behind Hearts. Is David Gray in a job?
Probably, yeah. They can't afford to sack him, but without the turbulent history on paper, no.
I think, well, you'd say, well, you caveat by saying, right, no wins in 5 and 1 win in 14. You know, there's a narrative there. He'd be sacked, right? Look at the league last year, right? The manager that got relegated lost the most amount of games, and that was David Martindale. But he runs Livingston. It's his club. It's his community club. He runs it. There was absolutely no hope in hell that he was going to get sacked. It's basically essentially have to sack himself. It's his club. It's how he runs. And we're at a point now where we're rolling into a game on Saturday where we could have no wins in 6, and I still don't think the manager will be sacked. Do you know what I mean? And I genuinely think we are the only club in the Premier League that I think that would allow that happen now that Livingston aren't in the league. And until somebody somewhere gets some ruthless people in the boardroom that didn't just care about tick box exercises, actually care about what it means to be a Hearts fan, what Hearts fans expect on the pitch, and how they deliver those results. The reason I was asking the worst run in Europe, all that stuff, it all goes back to the same common denominator. There is somebody that's been here for 10 years that dictates the mentality of the football club, that represents the mentality of the football club. I imagine being Robbie Nielsen and getting his team back onto that team bus to go back to Tynecastle, having lost to Broder Rangers in the Cup to face Vladimir Romanov. He'd have been fucking shitting himself. He'd have rather drove the bus off the road because
He'd
he
have driven
knows
it
that
off a bridge. Exactly that.
he's either going to get battered physically or he's going to get sacked. Like that is, you watch any elite sportsman that's played football, you look at Roy Keane's, Alex Ferguson's, Pep Guardiola, all these people. People go brilliant man manager and all that, and they absolutely are. But they were ruthless, and the reason that they were good man managers, I watched the overlap with Gary Neville. He talks about it all the time, where people are like, he talks to his old teammates, and they're a bit like, they're shocked or taken aback to be like, oh, I never realised that that's what the environment was like, because they performed, they were there every week, they were the elite performers. But it's like us with Tam, we cut him. Do you know what I mean? Like you just got to drop him. Like that's that thing you got to protect. You got to protect the group for folk that aren't that mentality, that didn't have the right mentality. You can't make excuses for them. You can't break your mentality, lower your standards because you've got Danny Amankwa in the corner that can't even tie his fucking shoelaces. You have to say to Danny, see you later, mate. Like get out, just get out. Like
You're right,
you
though.
need to be ruthless. You need to be ruthless. Alex Cochrane, he
Oh,
approached the club to say,
Denny.
I want to leave. I want to leave. I'm having a baby. I want to go back to England. Okay, cool. We sell him to the first bidder that bid any money. Because why? Well, because Alex is having a baby and we didn't want to upset him or his family or whatever. So we've just accepted the first thing that comes our way. We need somebody that's ruthless. I don't know who that is because we could potentially go get Derek McInnes or someone like that. But it's the mentality of the club that needs to change. It doesn't matter who the manager is. We need to change the mentality of the club, and I just don't know how we do it. That's the God's honest truth. I just don't know how we do it.
That might link in pretty well with today's news. To maybe try and put a little bit of a positive on tonight's pod with regards to the potential from Tony Bloom, who seems to be someone who can run a business but also run a football club and be ruthless.
Well,
now I'm not saying that
yes.
he's going to come in. I know the situation with it. I'm not saying that that's going to be the case. But does that, in your mind, does that change any part of how the club may be looked at?
Well, I think what the club have done is, I get it, no one will ever argue with the football business, the business side of our football club. It's the best it's ever been. Could it get better? Of course it could. It absolutely could. But we're in a very fortunate position that we are very well run. Where you can't argue with that. You can argue whether you could do something differently or slightly better, or if there's other avenues and opportunities to be done, and all, of course you could, 100%. That's always the way it works. So you can't argue with the football business side of it. The only bit of that football business side that's lacking is exactly what Tony Bloom is an expert in, which is recruiting, bringing players in, getting the best out of them, and then selling them at their highest value so that you get money. Exactly what Aberdeen do very well. You know, you look at the money that we've created. I think Osmond Soul, we got just over 1 million. I think, did we get Igor Rossi got us like £1 million or something as well? And then you've got the Aaron Hickey deal, which is the biggest face palm moment in the club's history, given the value and the money that it went for. And we've had
I think you
transfer
got
fees that
six
are there.
figures for KO, didn't you?
Aye, like, do you know what I mean?
So,
We've had nothing of note to report back to. Aberdeen have sold players for 4 million, 3 million, guys that aren't even getting a game for them. £6 million, raising to 7 million for Majowski, all these guys. But they bring them in and get the best out of them and then sell them for money and then bring someone else in that does the same bit. So the Tony Bloom stuff's exciting. Fernando, I know that you've no caught up in it or whatever. They're playing it as a £10 million investment, but what they're saying was, we'll give you this analytics program that they use at Brighton and St Gallen or whatever it is, the Belgian team that he looks after. That's like a recruitment model, a bit like Moneyball in America, the concept thing where they look at stats and player trajectories and who's on their way up versus who's on their way down and all that stuff, and cost to bring in and cost to sell them and all that sort of stuff. So he's famous for that, and obviously he's brought it at Brighton and his reputation is at Brighton. But essentially what he's saying to us is that we can have a shot of this programme, and for the length of time that he was allow us to have it for free, essentially would be the equivalent of you paying me £10 million. If you like it and you want to use it, then we can exchange what you owe me for a small stake in the club, a small shareholding in the club. I don't think it'll ever be anything bigger than that, due to the fact that we could play St Gallen and or Brighton in Europe, and the conflict of interest thing with owners, he wouldn't be allowed to. So I think it's up to a threshold of how much money or stake in a club he's allowed to own.
it's like a silent partner almost, isn't it?
Aye. And then obviously the idea would be that the investment would come with this, I don't fucking app or whatever you want to call it.
It's a laptop. It's Ian Cathro's laptop. That's what he's found.
We've went full circle, haven't we? We went back to where it is. That's what. But the three baldy terrorists can sit on the touchline looking at the app, watching the value of Kenny Vargas go up as he toe bangs one into section Z, row 8. So that's essentially where we're at. I think people will see it as a £10 million investment and think that he's going to own the club or we're going to turn into a Brighton. That's not what's happening. He said that he would like to let us have his, whatever you call it, this algorithm stuff that identifies players, and if we use it for the amount of time, it'll be the equivalent of us giving him £10 million. So it's a £10 million shot in his computer.
Oh, I'm sold. Fuck it. If it doesn't cost us anything up front and give away a small shareholding after bringing in success with it, then fine. Yeah, that's the cost of doing business. Sound.
Yep.
But again, that's the stuff that, so we are proactively looking at that side of it and saying, do you know what, we've had too many misses, we're spending too much money for not enough coming back. We're actively out there trying to fix that part of the business side of the football because it's failing. The exact same way that if you've got John, the sticky toffee pudding chef at the Skyline, if he starts getting 1-star reviews for those sticky toffee puddings, John will be sacked almost immediately because they'll be like, no, you're damaging the reputation of the Sky Lounge and the hotel and all. They would make a decision instantly and protect their investment. But yet that mentality isn't at the football team. And they'll counter that by saying, well, but you can't sack managers every single time we're on a bad run. How can we not? And the bad run is 1 win in 14. What this isn't because we got beat on Saturday and suddenly we're shenanigans and burning Tynecastle down because we've lost a game. That's patronising. That's really patronising to fans. We've watched the club. We travel all over Europe watching the club, spend our money, give them our hard-earned money as they charge us through the nose for 4 kits in a season, match-worn shorts by fucking Nando away to Falkirk, buy his shorts. Every single bit we give them money. These things is patronising to make it sound like we've spat the dummy because we've lost a couple of games. This is a culmination of, is nobody going to come out and talk about how we expect more from the manager? We expect to see a style. We expect to see the same 11 week after week. The results might not come straight away, but we can see the progress. They don't. Radio silence, and then it builds up and it builds up, and suddenly you're 2-0 down at home to Dundee, but you get back and you win 3-2. But then suddenly it's actually you only get 2-2, or you lose 2-1, or you're hard done by and lose 1-0 or whatever. And then next week you're away to Rangers, so you lose because you're expected to lose anyway. Then you're away in Europe and you get beat. Well, we're just happy to be there. So let's see where we're at. Oh, you got beat at Falkirk. It's cool. We made 9 changes because we had Europe on the Thursday. Every single step, you're spoon fed an excuse. The manager's got an excuse. Everything is fine because I can explain why we didn't do it. And then you get to this point where the straw breaks the camel's back and everybody goes, fuck this. Get the bed sheets out, get rid of them, because how far does this go? We're all sitting here now and the people watching us. My biggest worry is we don't win on Saturday, right? Say we draw or whatever. He won't be sacked on Saturday. He'll be kept in the job because, oh, well, we didn't get beat, so we've got a bit of progress, and Kilmarnock might not win, so we'll leapfrog them and go to 2 points after 6 games. Right, let's see what we do at Ross County. So then you play shite Ross County 1-0. Brilliant, cool, we got a result. There we go, we're on 5 points now, and that's us motoring, and you can see the signs of progress. That's what will happen. And that's what bugs me, is that's why I get exhausted with this, is how far down the line do we always have to go before somebody goes, actually, wait a minute. When was the last time we did something that was a shock? Do you know what I mean? Like, we didn't do nothing. The idea is, if we hadn't protest or kicked off or voiced our annoyance at Craig Levein, the fucker would still be here. If we hadn't done the same for Robbie Nielsen, he'd still be in the fucking dugout. That's what it is. Stephen Naismith is here until he wants to leave because he played in the English Premier League and he came back and he stayed and he could have went somewhere else and now he's a coach and blah, blah, blah. He can stay for as long as he wants. It's like a ma with a 41-year-old son that doesn't kick the fucker out. Get a job, get a real life, get out of my house. That's how far does it go? Genuinely, how far does it go?
And thank you, everybody, for joining us this week.
Right, you should be out on a ledge somewhere, man, with a microphone, like just shouting at folk passing by. But see, the thing is, right, joking aside, every single thing you've said is legitimate and pretty much accurate. It's ridiculous. We sat here at various points throughout last season, after being behind in games and then Shanklin digging us out a hole or whatever. That was like, I don't think anybody was convinced by Naismith in spells last season. I know we definitely weren't, because we spoke about it often enough and challenged me. Go back and listen to them. You're right. It is getting to the point where the straw is going to break the camel's back. But again, you circle back to the point you made 20 minutes ago, which is, what can we do? Nothing. Nothing, because the entourage that ultimately pulls the trigger is going to be the same person that goes down the corridor and fishes the next one out of the line. And said, right, there you go. You're in the chair now for 3 years. How do you do it? How do you start a revolution? I don't know how you do it.
Well, the thing is, what I'd say is cancelling your pledges. I know we go back to this all the time. Cancelling your pledges is just self-sabotage. There's no point in doing it. If you want to protest, you want a protest action that gets the attention of the club. I'm being serious. I know we just joked about it. Go on TripAdvisor and say that the skyline's shite. Go on TripAdvisor and say the hotel's shite. I promise you will get more of a reaction doing that than you'll ever get to cancelling your pledges, because as it stands right now, the Foundation of Hearts is nothing. It doesn't have a say in the board. I'm not just reacting to that. I'm telling you that that's how it is. They are token gestures on the board. That we own 71.5% of the club, and the Foundation of Hearts didn't get the sign off for the tribute kit. That's not their design. They didn't pick that design. They were told that that's the design that they're getting. They're the biggest shareholders of the football club. They have no say in what happens in the running of Hearts. Cancelling your pledge does nothing because Hearts don't care about the Foundation of Hearts. They're not bothered about it. It's nice to have. It ticks all the boxes that James Anderson and his philanthropy pals, or whatever you call it, like to see. But actually, the day-to-day is run by the club. They don't care. The marketing team that works for Hearts supersedes the marketing team that works for the Foundation of Hearts. So for the people that don't understand that, the biggest shareholder in the football club, the 71.5% owner of the club, which is us, which is all of us, have a marketing team and design something and say, this is what I want, this is what we want to represent the fans. The Hearts board, marketing team, the team that's in charge and that runs the club, they come in and say, no, that's not what we're doing. We're going to have big screens in here and we're going to have this, that, there, and the other. This is what we're telling you to do. So the people that don't own the club supersede the people that do own the club. So cancelling your pledge doesn't do anything. It just plays into the hands of how it already works. If you want bigger say, you want a protest, you want to have your feelings known and actually get a reaction, I am telling you, go on TripAdvisor, give the hotel a 1-star review, give the Sticky Toffee Pudding a 1-star review. If 10 people did that, you would get a bigger reaction than 10 people cancelling their pledge. I guarantee. I'm not telling you to do that. I've said that's all self-sabotage stuff. But if you're looking for a protest thing and you just want to kick the teeth of somebody because you're angry, that's how you do it. Don't take it out in the Foundation of Hearts. That's no, there's nothing they can do about it. It's how it's set up. There's not a lot they can do. We are fan owned, not fan run. Remember, we all signed up to that and get that rammed in our throats every single time this kicks off. Oh, well. I told you, tell me a name of somebody, I'll fucking roast them. I'm so angry. So angry.
For everyone that's watching on YouTube, you'll see I have put tripadvisor.com in the chat. It's not a live link though, so that's just a joke. But if you want to go to tripadvisor.com and search the Skyline Lounge, or whatever the fuck it's called, the 1874 bar, fucking go to town. Corbett says no, but I'm saying aye. Fuck it, there.
It's not the people that works there's fault either. But that's where we're at. Anyway, what's YouTube's reaction? Are we yes, no, maybe so for getting rid of Naismith? Or have I made myself a meme for the rest of my life?
I think you might have. But what's more worrying, I've not been able to listen to it, is that your old man, Big Bill Corbett, has recorded a voice note.
Yeah, don't worry. They never said anything. It's just silence.
Right, sound okay. And then do you see Shanks's picture of the pizza box? That's class. But we'll back to YouTube. Lots of laughing emoji faces. Corbett nailed it. It's the Living School of Coaching manual. Doesn't really make much sense, but I think I know what you're getting at. They all abide by it except Stendhal, who didn't toe the party line. That's from Keith Glasgow. Clappy 1874 asking questions about is Levine still doing something with Budge? ? I'm not going to say that word on air, but you know what I'm talking about. Are we going to see Craig Gordon as a player manager one day? Keith Glasgow saying Corbett must be reading all my social media posts. Everything he says I've been saying for years. Quite a funny one from Paul Newton. Do you think that's is that how we train? Going back to your SeaWorld fish analogy, is this how we train Halkett but with fish suppers instead of the actual fish?
Certainly feels.
Michael Harrison saying on the Vlad thing, imagine having to travel back and face Wallace Mercer. That'd be a badging. But a lot of people just saying spot on, Corbett, to be fair. Yeah.
And we go back, I exhaust myself with this stuff too because it's the same. I'm in the same boat always as I was. Craig Gordon's going into this boat as well now. You shouldn't no, everything should always have to be because everybody's kicked off and left. There should be a point where, like you said, football's ruthless. Sentimentality can't live in a football world. Somebody has to take Craig Gordon and say, look, you've been an absolute hero. This is what we're going to do. You're going to play this game. You're going to get a send off. Get your friends and family. We'll get the ultras and the crowd. We'll do displays. We'll fawn over you for the whole thing. You'll get your send off like you got with Scotland, and we thank you. If you want to stay and be a coach, brilliant. We'll put you through your badges. You can do all that stuff. We're happy for you to do it. But you start with the 16s and then go to 17s and 18s, and you build your way up because you need to be good enough. Not just because it's the reason why Liverpool didn't bring Steven Gerrard in when Klopp left. It would have been the easy job today. Fans would have bought into it. They would have absolutely loved it because it's Stevie G. He's a living legend. But he's not good enough to be the manager of Liverpool. So there's got to be standards. And I'm like that. And I know people maybe didn't see it. I'm like that with Anne Budge. Anne Budge did an unbelievable thing for the football club. She saved us. Every single one of us owes that woman a debt of gratitude we'll never really be able to pay. And the fact that we can even sit here and moan about all this stuff is a genuine miracle from where we were. But she's going to stay long enough to watch what she did burn. And I hate that thought. I hate that we have to chase her away from the club where, Pieman won the Scottish Cup, but he could never, badly advised, and could never come back to Tynecastle to be celebrated or reminisce about how good and what he did for us. And Wallace Mercer died before anybody could do any of that stuff for us. Anne Budge has done amazing things for the football club. She's got a legacy there that the next people, next custodians can take the club to a better place because there's a solid foundation laid there. But that's what we just said about Stephen Naismith. When is the jumping off point? When does somebody take the decision and say, look, it's gone too far now. Like, you've done what you needed to do, taken it as far as you can go. We've fixed the problem, which was the football business. We're fine. We're where we need to be. We now need to build on that football business with a product on the park that generates money through player sales, trophies, European football, consistently, every single season. You know that that's never in jeopardy. You're going to be there or thereabouts. That's how you build, and it really bothers me and gets to me that it feels never ending. It feels like to get there to be a change at that level, we're going to have to be outside Tynecastle in protest, and it's going to have to get nasty before it gets fixed. And I'm at the same with the Foundation of Hearts as well. Like, I know there was a thread on Kickback, and people laugh about it. Someone said it's a bit of a fallacy, it's a bit of a Ponzi scheme type thing. It's going nowhere. It's literally just you pay the money. It doesn't have any substance to it or whatever. And we're like that too with the Foundation of Arts. The next generation of people aren't engaging. They're not pledging. No one's pledging. The core group of people that pledged 10 years ago are still the same core group of people. It's never moved on, and that's because there's no engagement. We don't see anything. We don't see the impact of the Foundation of Arts. Doesn't have a voice on the board. The fans have this uneasy relationship with the board because we always come back to here because we just don't trust that it's ruthless enough or that it understands football enough. And that's like, can he always just come back here every 2 years back to the same story? And that really, it does actually get me with Budge because I want her to be able to go off and be thanked rather than fucking chased and our garden set on fire or whatever we did to Pieman.
I didn't want to be the one to bring this up, right? But I'm going to have to. But, like, she's 76 years old. How long, realistically, can she remain in position? You look at Joe Biden, right? Obviously, he's a bit of a slavering idiot. And there's no way he can run for next president. Budge, I'm not saying for 1 second that she's any less sharp than she ever has been, right? But there has to be a question that you can't have a 76-year-old woman in charge of the club indefinitely. There needs to be succession planning, and that's probably even bigger a worry, which is we arrive here every 18 months, 2 years or whatever, right? But if the figurehead of the club, I wish her well for the rest of her retirement years and all that sort of stuff. But what happens when she goes? Who replaces her? That's another thing to worry about.
Mate, my biggest worry is some cunt gets her gloves and shin pads for her birthday. She'll win fucking goals. She's only a few weeks older than Gordon. He's still getting a fucking game. Do you know what I mean? That's what I'm fucking worried about.
Oh, fucking hell.
But
my voice is gone. You've made me so angry that I've lost my voice.
Fucking hell. Just as well Tam is nowhere near this one as well, You shite bag.
Maybe we should do Monday nights for more often.
Before we go, we obviously got a game coming, so we need to do predictions for St Mirren. So, Kev, what's your score prediction?
I'm going to be positive for this weekend, and I'm going to go 1-1.
Ando?
Hearts will turn it around and only get beat 2-0. That's it'll be a loss. 2-0 St Mirren.
I'm in your boat, Ando. 2-0 St Mirren. I don't think Hearts will win. Is there any questions or anything on YouTube before we call it a night?
Nah, nothing. Just a variation on a theme. Everybody pretty much agreeing with you. Certainly no one saying that you're wrong by any manner of means. So if you want to read the room and take a listen to the mood music Hearts, then yeah, this is definitely it. Absolutely no one telling you to shut up and saying that you're not anywhere other than absolutely on the money.
Well, it's a sad state of affairs, isn't it?
Pretty much.
It's a
not that everybody's agreeing with you, but aye.
No, I think that's what's always bugged me the most about the fan-owned, not fan-run stuff is that everybody, you treat everybody like they're dafties, and the problems that are at Hearts, they're not that hard to see or to solve for. Do you know what I mean? It's literally all we're asking for is some continuity, a style and a shape that fits, and we can go to a game on a Saturday and know roughly what the starting 11 is going to be. After a full pre-season, a full transfer window, and 5 matches of the season, we go into a game on Saturday where I don't know what the best 11 is, and I don't know what formation we're going to play. That's criminal. That's not acceptable for a club that claims it wants to be the third best team in the country and also push on to become second or maybe first and win trophies and all that stuff. That's scandalous stuff. You can't get away with that.
Correct.
Right. Thank you, everybody on YouTube. I appreciate it. Hopefully, we have something more cheery to talk about next Sunday or Monday night. I'm not sure what I'll do next week if Hearts lose. I don't know. I don't know where we go. It might be live at the Plaza.
We could sacrifice Tam to the gods of football, and
That'll get us nothing.
Probably.
Send them back. They'll be like, we don't want them. Just fucking have them back.
Fair.
Sell them for scraps. Right. Thank you.
Right.
We'll see you all next week.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, folks.
Cheerio.
Cargo.